Alright, what's going on, guys? It's been a minute, long minute, since I did gameplay with commentary, and today I wanted to talk about Vayne, and specifically Vayne versus 7 Days to Die, because I only have one video for Vayne. I don't have enough ideas when it comes to Vayne because for the most part Vayne is kind of, I mean, it's open-ended in the same way 7 Days to Die is, but there's no trader, so there's no mission, so to speak. I mean, the mission is really just to survive, and so you can interpret it how you want to. I mean, there's a lot of exploration you can do and seeing different places and seeing different things, but for the most part, you don't really do missions for a person and level up in the same sense as you do in 7 Days to Die. So with that, I want to talk about some differences between both games, some similarities, and maybe even like come to a conclusion as to which game is better. And I have a list of things I wanted to go down. So first was probably the aesthetic between both games. Now, both of these games are zombie games. They're both games where you need to survive and, you don't want to catch the zombie virus. You have weapons. You kill the zombies with weapons. If you've ever seen a zombie movie or played a zombie game, it's pretty simple. This game has many weapons. One-handed weapons, two-handed weapons. And 7 Days to Die exact same way. So in that sense, it has very similar aesthetics, and I think they're pretty complementary to each other. However, this kind of rolls into the graphics part of it. And 7 Days to Die has been out since about 2013 when it was in like alpha. Like, I mean, it really didn't look like what it does today. Whereas Vayne, I think they dropped their demo, if it wasn't last year, it might have been the year before last. I'm not really sure about the timeline, but they're much, much newer than 7 Days to Die. In fact, the running joke with 7 Days to Die is that, I mean, the game's been in alpha for 10 plus years at this point, and it's probably never leaving alpha or beta or whatever they want to call it. Like, it's never going to be a full game. I mean, they released on PlayStation, and I would argue that 7 Days to Die at the very least has a one-up with Vayne, where that you can play 7 Days to Die on PlayStation and Xbox as well as PC, but with Vayne, you can only play it on PC right now. They don't have controller options for people who want to use controllers, so they've kind of limited themselves there, unfortunately. But if you do play mouse and keyboard, this is really a great game to consider playing or trying out at the very least. But yeah, graphics wise, 7 Days to Die still has that sort of in between, say, PS3 to PS4, or I would even say like between PS4 and PS5 graphics, where there's a little bit of detail there, but it's not like the full photorealism that Vayne has. Like, Vayne has some pretty deep photorealism. I mean, you step outside, it's like super dark, you got the flashlight, and there's like reflections on different things, and everything almost looks like it could be just a photo. Even like the gun has like, it's reflective, there's like reflections on it and stuff, and just the way the light bounces off. And with both games, you can like adjust the graphical settings and whatnot, but with this game you can probably adjust it way higher to the point where, I mean, it almost looks like a realistic, like you look, you're watching a video, versus playing a video game. Like, this game just looks so good with all of the details and all of the just ridiculously photorealistic. But 7 Days to Die probably loses on that front. but they make up for it in other ways. So that'll probably take me into the gameplay aspect, and both play very similar. They're both first-person shooters, but the gameplay for Vayne is very, 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 very detailed. I mean, down to just like cooking, where there's a bunch of different things that you can make if you read the magazines or the books that have schematics in them, or recipes, I should say. These allow you to be able to craft different things. So, like, there's a schematic for compression bandage and blood test kit. I got to get my medical up to 45 because I actually want to test my blood because I can't see what my blood type is yet until I test my blood. So, and I haven't found a blood test kit. So, if I can make a blood test kit, I can test and see what my blood type is. There's a lot of granularity when it comes to Vayne. And 7 Days to Die has some detail, but it's not as deep as Vayne. When it comes to cooking in 7 Days to Die, there's probably like maybe between 20 and 30 items that you can make on a stove. And then as far as crafting, there's probably there's like way more. It's probably like 100, maybe like 100 to 120 items that you can craft. It might be a little bit more or a little bit less. I'm not entirely sure, but I know it's in between that ballpark. And with Vayne, there's just so much that you can make compared to 7 Days to Die. I don't even have everything unlocked. I'm pretty certain I don't have everything unlocked. And there's just so much that you can make when it comes to cooking. For crafting, I would argue there's probably not as much as 7 Days to Die. They're going to probably add more, but for the most part, the workbench, you make this kind of stuff here. And then you can craft some stuff in the construction menu, very similar to 7 Days to Die, but there's just not a lot compared to 7 Days to Die. 7 Days to Die is really, it really models itself after Minecraft, I think, with the grid system, and you can kind of build how you want, where you want. And with Vayne, you can kind of do that same thing, and there's really no grid system because you can kind of move stuff wherever you want. Wherever you feel like you want to put it, you can just put it there, and it wouldn't really matter in this game. So, gameplay-wise, Vayne is very, very deep. So much you can do. So many different stats that you can have compared to 7 Days to Die. So if you really, really want a zombie game that can produce just unique things and be able to, feel like you can control everything, you can do everything, you can take, say, like a fishing rod and then just use it as a weapon. It doesn't like you actually can do that. Or maybe it does. I don't know. This is actually just for fishing. But if you're able to pick certain things up, I want to put this back down. If you're able to pick certain things up, they will literally let you use it as a weapon. Here, I'm going to place this back down. There you go. I got a bunch of one- and two-handed weapons here. But for example, like, there's a fiberglass paddle that, if I wanted to, I can use as a weapon. It's pretty silly when you think about it, but I mean, it's just how much they allow you to do. Like they pretty much in Vayne, they want you to be able to kind of basically control everything, and anything you can think of doing in real life sort of works in Vayne. So like, how this stove needs to be plugged in to be powered. As you can see, there's some connections, and it's connected. It's getting power directly from the fuse box, but it can also just plug into the wall here because the wall outlet goes to the fuse box. And it's similar with a lot of other stuff here where they all need to be plugged in to be used. And some stuff, say for example, like the tub needs to be connected to something so that it can produce water. Whereas 7 Days to Die doesn't really have that mechanic. I think that they should, because you can actually craft stoves in 7 Days to Die, but they they don't work. They literally just work as like storage. And if they were to make that next step to allow you to maybe cook faster and add that to 7 Days to Die, that'd be kind of cool. If you could, craft a stove, and if you have to plug it in, you can plug it in because you can wire stuff in 7 Days to Die, and maybe it can work and it can cook things a lot faster. That would be kind of cool. But gameplay wise, 7 Days to Die is just much simpler than Vane. Vane is way more detailed. So if it's a little too overwhelming, I think 7 Days to Die might be the better game for somebody who's looking for a good zombie experience. Whereas if you like being able to just, say, use different things as a weapon, like if you pick up a frying pan, you could just smack zombies in the head with that until you find an actual good weapon. As for the gameplay setting, this one's pretty simple. The gameplay setting and the location for Vane is essentially like upstate New York. I'm not sure exactly what part of New York, but they do use basically a realistic location where I think the developers of Vane probably either live around the area or they took some pictures of this location or even got it from like Google Maps or Google Earth, excuse me, and they just copied it one for one, or almost very similar. And it looks, I've probably only spent maybe like a couple of days in upstate New York. I don't even think I traveled to the area that this is located in, but it looks like New York, like upstate New York, like just there's trees and just the way the houses and the buildings are set up. If you told me this was like New York, I would believe you, or upstate New York, I would believe you, and they did really well when it comes to the detail of this map. And for 7 Days to Die, the location is supposed to be Arizona. I'm not really sure what part of Arizona, but definitely Arizona it's supposed to be. Also, one nice thing they have about this is that they have third person. 7 Days to Die should be adding third person at some point, but this game does have third person mode, which is a plus side. But if you can be patient and you like 7 Days to Die, they said they will eventually add a third person mode. So, but as far as like the locations, Arizona would be for 7 Days to Die, and for Vane it would be New York or upstate New York. And honestly, with the amount of detail that this game has, Vane, I would love to see if they were to add, like maybe like for Vane 2, or even like in this Vane, if you were able to choose maps, if they were to like finish this map off and then maybe like make like maybe like a downtown sort of like New York style map, that would be kind of cool. Or even like a different location. It doesn't have to be downtown New York. But I was just thinking, since they already like understand upstate New York, maybe they would like want to do like a city type of map where there's just a bunch of buildings. Because at the very least on this game, you could pretty much go into every single building. And 7 Days to Die is the same way. Like, you can pretty much go into every building. You can pretty much destroy every building. This game doesn't have the same amount of, or actually, they really don't have any destruction other than maybe like, you could probably just cut down trees. But that's really about it. Like, they don't really have too much destruction when it comes to the map. You could also like knock down fences. Let's see, let's cut this down. There you go. This is really the most when it comes to like destruction. As well as like, there was a fence over here, as you can see on the side, and I spent so much time driving back and forth that I just destroyed the fence. But they do let you destroy pretty much everything that you can touch. You can just dismantle it or destroy it and get some resources from it for crafting or whatever else you want to use it for. So it's it is kind of nice. So and another thing I wanted to compare was the dev sizes. For Vane, there's only 2 developers, and the fact that they were able to produce all this with just 2 people, I think is impressive. If you compare to 7 Days to Die, I know it's more than 2 people. It's not a huge team. They're not like DICE, EA, or Activision. They're not that huge, but they are more than 2 people. So there's just a lot more people working on it. Honestly, if 7 Days has been around for over a decade. You would hope that they, you know, had more people, you know. So they do have a bigger team than them than Vayne, but it's you know, they do pretty well. It obviously, you know, one could argue, oh, it's been out for like 10 plus years, 7 Days to Die. The game should be more than finished. Look, game development is complicated, and so there's really not much you can really force or say to people to make them speed up the process. You know, it should 7 Days to Die have been a completed game by now? Sure. You could argue in their state it's basically a completed game, but the problem is it's not, because there's a lot that they've promised that the game will have that the game just does not have right now. So even by their account, the game is unfinished. So it's a little disappointing. But yeah, the size of the development team is a little bit larger, or maybe even like a lot larger than Vayne. So for all accounts, this game is pretty impressive for just having 2 people. And 7 Days to Die looks a little underwhelming when you compare the size of the dev team. And as far as the future of the game, this was probably one of the reasons I wanted to make this game, or make this video about this game compared to 7 Days to Die. This game is constantly getting updates. I mean, like, just this middle of the road stuff, like just little like bug fixes. And that might just have to do with the fact that, like, you know, they just entered early access. They just had a demo for however long they did until they joined the early access program on Steam. So, you know, they're trying to make their game look as good as possible to players on Steam, so people will, you know, buy the game. Of course, there is a demo that is free, and it will always be free. So you can always try the game to see if you like it. But they are charging for this game in terms of early access, and honestly, it gives you way more access to the map, because they don't really allow the free players, the players who have the demo, to access all of the map. They only are allowed to access. I'm up here in Saranac, New York, and that's one of the areas of the free player, or you know, the free players, the guys, the people with the demo can access, as well as Redford, and they don't have access to anything north of these 2 locations. Like, you can't go to Leon Mountain, you can't go to Danis Mora, and it looks like they're going to even expand it even more. So there's going to be an area down here, an area to the right over here, Plattsburgh, and then 2 more locations. It looks like even more north. I mean, this map is so huge that these are probably just the next locations that are going to get added, but there's probably going to be even stuff all the way up here into the corner. I mean, this map is going to be amazing. Look at this. Like, there's like a giant like river over here. Like, we only have access to like these little rivers and these little lakes, but they're going to have like, they're probably going to make like boats and stuff, because there's already, like I said, like I had an oar in my hand that you can like use as a weapon, but you're probably going to be able to use it to like you know, pilot a boat, or you know, just a kayak. So that's going to be cool. The future of this game looks really bright. Like, they're trying to add everything they can that you can think of to this game. 7 Days to Die has a decent future, but the problem is they made a lot of backsteps. So that's the main thing that's people haven't been having an issue with. They've since said that they're going to make some changes, but you know, it's going to take some time, and you know, it's a little disappointing considering the game's been out for like over 10 years. But you know, they have committed to doing that stuff. So you know, we'll see where they are in about a year from now for 7 Days to Die, as well as Vayne. So, which game is better overall? Well, you know, I would really like boil it down to these 2 things. If you want a simple zombie game that has a decent amount, it is moderately finished but not completely, 7 Days to Die works the best for you, and you're gonna love it. If you're looking for something a little more granular, gives you more accessibility, I would think, or more access, not accessibility, access to being able to do more different things. You know, just stuff like being able to wash your clothes, being able to wash yourself, being able to drink from any source of water, being able to wire things up, and you know, just being able to use anything as a weapon. I think Vayne's gonna work the best for you, and their future looks bright. 7 Days to Die, I think their future looks bright too, as long as they follow through on the things they planned. But that's really all I have for you. So I would recommend trying out both games whenever you get the chance. 7 Days to Die. 7 Days to Die goes on sale pretty often. Vayne was on sale for a little bit during the Halloween, but they're probably gonna go on sale for like a Christmas sale or something like that. So, you know, I would say give them a try, and you know, see what you think with the demo for Vayne, and you know, tell me what you think of these two games in the comment section. That's really all I have for you now. So, you know, just tell me what you think, and talk to you later. Bye for now.